Welcome to the Hey You Got a Minute podcast. I'm sitting with Emmett Fortosky, who is a part of the TD Jazz Intensive, upcoming in coordination with the Jazz Festival, Sask Jazz Festival. So Emmett and I kind of we've traveled into the same circles, a little bit through sport, a little bit through music.
Yeah.
I think I beat you on the basketball court, but you definitely destroyed me with any instrument. So we'll call it. We'll have a rubber match of some sort. Climbing.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
kidding. Climbing won't be close. So Emmett's involved with our TD Jazz Sask Festival here in Saskatoon from Monday, June 24th to Saturday, June 29th. He'll give us a little bit more information on that. So what's your project? I know we've kind of talked about it, but what is the TD Jazz Intensive?
The TD Jazz Intensive is a camp oriented around instructing youth that are interested in jazz music, and we include like vocalists as well as instrumentalists in the whole program. And it's all about trying to showcase young talents. So giving the young musicians a chance to perform is what happens at the end of the week. But the main focus is actually around giving students instruction around jazz music in general, because it's not really as focused on throughout the year. So this is a great opportunity for students anywhere from high school to university level as well, to work with, in my opinion, like world-class faculty. We have David Braid, who's kind of a legend, living legend right now, and he's still actually like relatively young. But then we also have people like Mo Leifer coming in too. So it's really going to be a great camp, I think, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
And what's your specific role, or what kind of group are you working with at this camp?
Yeah, I'll be the bass faculty member.
Yeah.
So specifically, I'm going to be focusing with a lot of the electric and upright bass players. And with what's kind of cool about this camp in general is that there's a lot of the roles are pretty malleable. So my main focus is going to be on instructing bass, but then roles can kind of change a little bit depending on if we need to focus on some rhythm section stuff. I'm going to hopefully be helping out with some of that area. And there's also opportunities for people to work on specific improvisation skills. That will be more the focus of some other instructors, but there's a lot of different ways that I can get involved in it, as well as the rest of the instructors can work towards their strengths.
And so you're working with more of the bass and the electric bass.
Yeah.
What other kind of instruments are offered at those?
Well, there's vocalists that can get involved, as well as guitar. We have awesome guitar faculty. We have trombone faculty. We also have trumpet faculty members, saxophone.
So you're covering
yeah, like,
pretty much the whole ensemble that you kind of need.
Yeah, and I'm sure that like if you have a specific instrument that you want to play, I'm sure that we would probably find a way to make that work. We are trying to play stuff within the jazz idiom, but that idiom is pretty large and encompasses a whole bunch of different instruments. So if you do play any form of instrument and you like jazz music, I would just give it a shot for the application and see how it goes from there.
And then specifically, you talked a little bit about youth working, but is there a certain age group where you're just looking for any youth, or what kind of age or group are you targeting with this group?
Yeah, so the TD Jazz Intensive focuses on students that are high school level or university level. It's kind of going for a general youth movement, and so the idea is that like we're focusing on anyone that already plays an instrument and that wants to improve their skills. Specifically in jazz. So yeah, anyone in that kind of general age category. I don't think we specifically have an age cap, but we are targeting the university level students as well as high school level students.
For sure, yeah. And like, did you go through this program when you were in high school and university?
Yeah. Actually, when I first started doing the program, I got lucky. There were short bass players my first year, and so I was actually, I think, in grade 7 or grade 8, and my brother told me to apply because he was, and both my brothers were in the program. So I ended up getting into the program that year and had an awesome experience, and it was great for me because I didn't really have any formal instruction related to jazz before that moment, and it gave me an opportunity, even though I felt I wasn't really ready for it at the time. It pushed me in all the right directions, and I didn't feel that the instruction was like demanding in a negative way. It felt like everyone was encouraging me to develop in the ways that I wanted to develop. So yeah, I ended up doing the program for 10 years, and then last year I ended up not participating as I was doing more performing during the festival. And then I was really happy with the opportunity to be asked to be part of the faculty this year. It's always, I grew up loving the camp. It was my favorite part of the summer. One of the also like really cool bonuses of being in the camp is you get a pass that gives you free access to any show that isn't sold out prior to, I believe it's 5 minutes before the show starts, which basically, if you kind of do the math, like what I think most concerts for the big stages are $50 or $60. I don't quote me on that. You have to look on the on festival website for that. But yeah, you're paying registration, which is pretty moderate. I believe this year we're looking at 125. Yeah, and so if you end up going to like 3 main stage events, you've already got your ticket covered, the whole purpose of the camp covered. And like the reason why they actually do that whole access pass is that we all want students
get that exposure to the jazz or what's available.
Yeah, it's really great, and so you can check out all the different acts. Personally, I'm really looking forward to seeing Joshua Redmond.
Okay.
Yeah, he's really really heavy, but there's so many great acts that like you're gonna find so many great concerts. One of my favorite growing up was like seeing Christian McBride play as a bass player. Christian McBride is kind of like one of the top level bassists. So yeah, like I ended up meeting him after one of the concerts too, which was great. And all the musicians that I've met that are performing, they're usually cool to talk afterwards, as long as they're out in like the waiting area and stuff. People during festival season kind of get that a lot of the time. This is like where a lot of kids can come out or students can come out to see some of their idols play, and so they're usually down to talk and to make sure that the tradition kind of lives on through kind of inclusion in that way.
So as a former student of the TD Sask Jazz Intensive, what was the main thing that future students or potential applicants can look forward to in learning or get out of the program?
I was a huge fan of the individual work or like masterclass kind of work.
Okay.
When I was in the program, Soren Neeson was the instructor for most of it, for bass, and he was pretty much like one of the main reasons why I continued doing jazz bass specifically. And with that, one of the other main components that I really like is having the different combos that get set up. So this always changes a little bit year to year because this program is very malleable, but in years past, there have always been different combos that are established. That I think is a great way to meet other musicians and to get opportunities to figure out, do you guys know Autumn Leaves? I know Autumn Leaves. Let's play Autumn Leaves. Let's figure out how this works. And you kind of develop this idea of like a bass language. Because as you develop more and more into jazz or in any genre really, you kind of understand that there's like bass songs you should know, basic songs that are kind of part of the repertoire.
Yeah.
And that was a huge part of the program that I really liked. We would go through different standards, and sometimes we read our own material, but they usually all be based within like this kind of idea of the large overarching jazz idiom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were in this TD Jazz Intensive for 10 years?
Yeah.
Okay, and then when did you start playing?
Bass in general?
Kind of like,
or music?
We'll say music.
Yeah, I think it was around 5 when I started taking formal piano lessons.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that was a great opportunity with that, or just to get music going right away.
Yeah.
I recommend it to everyone if at all
my
possible.
kid's playing piano and guitar because if you can play those two,
oh yeah,
you can just pick up a guitar and play.
Yeah.
When you're sitting around with friends.
Yeah, it's a great, and it's also like piano and guitar are 2 great chordal instruments. So you can really mess around with harmony a lot more, and I find piano players in particular have one of the most developed senses of harmony at an early age.
Okay.
So it really helps for if you get into jazz or if you get into different idioms that require a large amount of extra notes.
Okay.
Then piano in particular is great, and guitar as well. But yeah, I started playing piano at age 5.
Yeah.
Then when I was 8 years old, my brothers wanted to start a family band.
Who's your other brother? You have Sean and then who's
Ben.
Okay, I don't think I know Ben.
No, like he was 5 years older than me, so he was a couple of years older. Because me and you are the same age. Yeah. So he was out before we were in high school.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they wanted to start a family jazz band. I guess maybe my parents also had something to do with that. But what kind of happened was Ben plays trumpet and Sean plays saxophone.
Yeah.
And so I needed to play either a chordal instrument or a bass, and I can't remember if it was like me specifically that wanted to do it, but it ended up choosing the upright bass. It was pretty comical because I started on upright, which is kind of weird. Usually people start on electric.
Yeah. And you were 8.
Yeah, I was 8 years old, so it was like this weird comical effect. We were in a band called The Flu when I was growing up, and it was like as terrible as the name sounds. It was a lot of fun, but like we had this terrible catchphrase, and it was called like "Catch the Flu," and that was our slogan. Yeah. And I kid you not, our logo was a mucus ball. Yeah, and it had the flu put in. It was like I was
archived. Are you guys archived?
We're not online because that was pre Facebook. But it's probably somewhere. I can probably find some stuff. But it's like I didn't design the logo, so like I'm hands free on that one. But I do embrace it. Like it was a great band to get me started. And it was fun being able to play. One of the biggest things for music for me in general is the idea of community building.
Yeah.
And to start out with my brothers was awesome, and then they had some of their friends from high school, and that became my friends.
Yeah.
That like we all kind of started playing together, and I developed most of my friendships either through sports or through music, or like extracurricular activities. But yeah, music in particular was great. I was able to start playing in a ska band when I was in grade 8. Which was pretty wild. It was weird. Like I didn't understand. Like I think looking back on it, like I wish I would have known it was cool to be in a band in high school.
Yeah, that was kind of like when we were in high school. It was kind of like because Glee was getting everything just kind of like it became cool to be on that musical side as a male.
Yeah,
like it I know like I don't want to say it wasn't cool, but like it just kind of like started to shift.
Yeah, and so people, and like had I realized that, I guess it would have been like because I didn't talk about that in high school. I'd be like, yeah, like I might go. Like it was kind of funny. There was a couple times where I played a show on like a Wednesday night, and I get back at like 1 a.m. or something like that. And I go to school the next day. I'm tired, but I wouldn't talk about it. I'd just be like, yeah, I'm back. I'm
rough night. Couldn't sleep.
Yeah, and like I don't know. It would have been cool to embrace, because now when you're in your mid-20s and you're playing a band, it's like it's still acceptable, it's cool. Yeah. But like the older you get, and like if your bands aren't necessarily really big, the more people are like, you play in a band, so like what do you do?
Yeah, what do you do? Yeah. What do you do?
Like the goal.
Well, that's cool. What do you do though? Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's I'm still in kind of the golden age. I can get away with being like, yeah, I play in a band. That's kind of what I do now.
So you play piano, you play bass.
Yeah, those are kind of my two. Like I mainly actually I play piano to compose. Yeah. But I wouldn't really want to perform on piano often. I kind of like I understand all like the concepts and stuff. But it's not something I go to. Yeah, I mainly play upright and electric bass. I do a little bit of backup vocals for certain groups. Yeah. But yeah, those are, and I had to learn when I was doing my music education degree at the University of Saskatchewan. I did have to learn the basics on almost all the instruments, just to like you have to be able to.
It's like a survey, and you can talk about with like your trumpet players.
Yeah, exactly. So like if your trumpet player like messes up like B flat, you can be like, yeah, this is the fingering. Like you gotta. It's really good to. I think it's a great thing to do in the program. But yeah, so technically I play all those instruments, but I really would only feel comfortable performing mainly on upright and electric bass nowadays. But and I guess to kind of conclude the whole like me getting involved in music, I started playing more and more as I got through high school. And a lot of the people that I met in high school I ended up performing with even today in different bands, but then I regularly play with I think about four groups now, 4 or 5, and then I freelance. And that's what I do, I guess, as well as teach some private lessons.
That's what I always teach. So I mean, you've been playing instruments since you were 5. You were part of the TD Jazz Intensive for 10 years. So what kind of personal projects on the side throughout the year, or even just upcoming, what do you kind of have lined up?
I played regularly with Ellen Freitas, who's a great singer-songwriter from Saskatoon. Well, she's from just outside Saskatoon on a dairy farm. But so that's one of the main projects I play with. When I play with her, we're called Ellen Fraze and the Hot Toddies, which is it was a fun name that we kind of developed just as kind of like different band inside jokes happened. But yeah, so Ellen Fraze and the Hot Toddies is a group I play with regularly. Then I also play with Mini Vandal, a ska punk band. I also play with my own project. It's called the Emmett Fortosky group. And we're actually going to be hosting a jazz jam at the basement on May 23rd, which is great. It's an all-ages jam, but it's also licensed, so like if people want to have a beer, it's cool. But if not, that's also totally cool too. Yeah, so that's coming up on Thursday. I'm also subbing in with the Saskatoon Youth Orchestra Chamber Orchestra, sorry. I'm subbing in with them on this Saturday, which this will be probably today. It'll be today. Yeah, it'll be coming up right away. So yeah, I'll be doing that stuff. And then one of the projects I'm really looking forward to coming up right away is called the Prairie Roots Ensemble with Keisha Leonard. And so with that particular group, it's really it's a project that it's kind of a passion project that's turned into something that can become more frequent, where some of my friends, Colin Grant as well as Rory Lynch, we ended up doing this as a capstone project for our jazz certificates to the University of Saskatchewan. We started to develop arrangements that we thought were kind of unique or incorporating different ideas from different genres or even different types of art, and creating a concert around it. So last year we did a concert with Dash Reimer, where we incorporated spoken word poetry with the jazz music. And then this particular edition of this ensemble is going to be focusing on doing jazz arrangements of folk tunes that are mainly written by Keisha Leonard, but they're also going to be kind of a couple other more standard folk tunes that we're going to be doing. And we take a lot of pride in focusing on local talent for that particular ensemble, and really trying to be as inclusive as possible. We've donated, or actually we're in the process of donating tickets to Open Door Society, so that we can get some different newcomers to Canada, give them the opportunity to come should they want to a concert like that. So those are a couple of projects that I'm excited about. There's always more stuff that are that's kind of happening. As Dean McNeil, a mentor and friend of mine, that's some of the best words of wisdom he said to me was that like whenever you're a freelance musician or a musician in general, or even whatever you do in life, you always want to have this idea of like a Ferris wheel going. So you have this idea like that you kind of have initially, so you throw that into the docket, and you have some things that are slowly happening with that, and so it's going on, it's doing its thing, it's germinating, it's doing all that stuff, but then you have all these other ideas that are all in different parts of the Ferris wheel, and then you're always unloading something, as it happens, or sometimes it might go around a couple of times and things are going, but then all of a sudden all these things unload, but if you don't load anything back in, then you're kind of like setting yourself up for failure, because you're going to have all this spare time, and so you always have to have these things consistently in motion. So there's always going to be consistent things that are in the very beginning process, but yeah, like those are some of the things that are coming up pretty quick, which will be really fun.
Good stuff. Do you have an ultimate goal or dream with all this? Yeah, do you have an ultimate goal or dream?
I think a goal that I've had for a long time is to be able to be actually, sorry, this is a weird goal.
Go for it.
But yeah, I want
no weird goals.
Yeah, well, it's that I think like the conception, like the idea of it has changed over the years. But I always wanted to be able to perform professionally as a musician, as like the main source of income. For like most of my life, I used to like think of that as like I want to be a musician. And it was like, that's what I got to do. And as I've grown older, like the idea of that has changed more and more. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can be a musician and still be involved in music. But yeah, for right now, I just want to kind of see how far music can take me, and also how far education can take me as well. Both of them are really strong passions of mine, and I have no specific goal in mind right now, besides maybe like if I can do some extensive touring, that'd be great. But just to be able to have the opportunity to share my passion about music and education with those around me, and to have platforms to do that would be the ultimate goal right now. And
All right, this time we are going to our Go segment with Emmett Fortosky, so we'll hit him with a couple quick questions. We'll just learn a little bit more about the man himself. So, favorite current artist or song? Kind of what's on the playlist?
I'm gonna go with Monsieur Perinet, and I'm probably butchering the pronunciation because it's a French name, but of it's a band that's based in Colombia. So I don't really know if I should try to pronounce it in French or in Spanish, both of which I wouldn't be able to pronounce like super well. But I really like their version of the song Tu m'as promis, which is a song that's sung partially in French, partially in Spanish.
Okay.
I would highly recommend, if you're into what's called jazz manouche, more of like that's the political correct way to say it, but in the past it's been called gypsy jazz. And it's all based off of this guy named Django Reinhardt, who was a manouche gypsy. And so like they heavily take from that, as well as from kind of more South American pop or like Latino pop music, as well as a little bit of traditional Latino music in there too. I think it's fabulous. It's one of my favorite, or like it's my favorite song right now, my favorite artist. So yeah.
Stop. You're gonna really expand our horizons.
It's good.
The four artists I've heard, it was like, one of them was a local guy.
Yeah.
That was with Ryland. Mark's was like the Temptations.
Cool. Nice.
And so like we are hitting broad.
Yeah.
Favorite musical,
Oh, jeez.
or if you have like a top three.
Yeah. Like I gotta probably go with Lion King. It's just it's good. It's good stuff. I'm really nervous about the new Disney adaptation. Like
You're nervous for it.
You know, like
That's Beyonce. You gotta be nervous about it.
but like it's just got that kind of like the cartoon thing is a sentimental vibe, and so I'm like, you know, I'm sure they're gonna do a great job, but like, you know, it's always like, you know,
How real they're showing them is like, okay,
Yeah.
this is a bit much for what my 4-year-old self remembers.
exactly. Yeah.
Major influence in your life, whether it's music, whether it's on the side, something else.
I'd probably have to say that Richard Carnegie has been a pretty huge influence on my life. But you know, there's I guess I already specifically named him. There's a lot of influences, but he was one of the biggest bass influences on my life. But he also taught me a lot about life in general. So he was my bass instructor for almost 12 years.
Okay.
And I still hang with him now, and it's great. But he definitely helped kind of shape a lot of how I approach music and how I approach things in life in general. So yeah.
Would your quote be different than the one you talked about? Quote you live by? Would it be different?
Like which quote did
Sorry,
I?
just like the one you talked. I guess wasn't
Oh.
really a quote. The Ferris wheel. Would it be
The
different?
Ferris wheel.
Do you have a
Well,
different one?
yeah, like my quote is.
Hang on. Yeah, quote you live by.
Okay, I'd probably say that my quote that I live by is, "Always do what you love." Yeah, pretty simple. I don't know. Yeah.
But that's what we need, really.
Yeah.
In my downtime, you can find me. You don't have much downtime.
I don't have too much fun.
4 different grooves. Fine.
Yeah, yeah. I like playing NBA 2K. I'll say. I'm terrible at it,
Hey.
but you know, like it's,
Do what you love, man.
Yeah,
Do what you love. Is it TD Jazz Fest? Is that what it is?
No, it's the SaskTel Saskatchewan Jazz Festival,
Okay.
and then the TD Jazz
It's just
Intensive.
okay.
Yeah.
What would be your favorite? So all the years of the SaskTel Jazz Festival, what would be your favorite one? Favorite performance that you went to?
Favorite performance was Christian McBride.
Okay.
Also tied. Oh no, no, it's Christian
Hey, go for
McBride.
both. Go for both. You can say both. You can say both.
Like I did one of like the cooler things for me was I did get to see Bella Fleck and the Flecktones.
Okay.
Victor Wooten is the bass player for it, or almost all the time. And so I got to see Victor Wooten live and Christian McBride play live. Those are like two biggest they're way up
They're
there.
up there, yeah.
Yeah. So like, but it also is one of the most depressing memories for me because I saw this concert of Victor Wooten playing live, which is cool. And I left when some of my friends wanted to go for ice cream or something before when they finished the last song, and I was like, yeah, let's go. It'll be totally fun to go for ice cream and stuff. That'll be great. And then I hear the next morning that Victor Wooten did a full bass flip during the encore and like was just doing all this crazy stuff, and I was like, no, how did I miss that?
Encore.
But
You missed the encore.
yeah, but yeah, those are the two top performances.
My top one. So I went to the Roots the first time.
Okay.
I can't go this time, which I'm kind of bummed about. So I went to the Roots, and but Nikki Yanofsky was kind of like my first introduction to jazz.
Okay.
So going to her, seeing her, I think it was like 2013.
Yeah.
That was kind of like pretty cool, just because she was like belting since she was like 8.
Yeah, it's
So
like
that was really cool to see. This year's SAS Jazz Fest. What are you looking forward to?
Joshua Redmond. He puts on a great show. He has all his albums are amazing, but he has like a couple really good odd meter albums that I think are really great. But yeah, he is. I don't know. He's one of the top people that I'm gonna like. There's so many great players, but it's always tough because
You're gonna be busy for that whole every day. It's just gonna be.
I'm gonna be out every single night. Like there's no chance that I'm gonna stay in. It's just how it goes for the festival. But yeah, Joshua Redmond, you will definitely see me there. It'll be a great time.
Thanks to Emmett Fortosky, part of the TD SAS Jazz Intensive, for joining us on the podcast today. For more information for the TD SAS Jazz Intensive, where do you think we can go?
I would look up you can go onto the Saskville, Saskatchewan website, and it's going to be under like a tab that's under getting involved, and then under the TD Jazz Intensive. So check out that, or else go into their Facebook page, and they have Instagram and stuff set up, so you can find all this different stuff with the links set up through all those different social media platforms. But yeah, go on their website, Saskville, Saskatchewan Jazz Festival's website.
And then for your performances and a little bit more about you, where can we go?
My Facebook page, Emmett Fortosky Music. Check it out wherever that. That's where I keep a whole events tab. I'm also going to be posting on Instagram, and also look into the Jazz Intensive events portion of their website, as I'll be on there for a couple different shows.
Good stuff. Thanks again, Emmett, for joining the Hey You Got It podcast.
Thanks for having me.